Have you ever felt deeply desired one moment and completely invisible the next? Like you were the center of someone's universe at night, but by morning it felt as if you had disappeared from their world entirely. That kind of confusion, that emotional roller coaster isn't love. It's a setup. Behind that charm, that confident smile, there is often something far darker than you might expect. What feels magical at first can slowly reveal itself as something calculated and controlling. You're about to understand 5 hidden patterns that narcissists try hard to keep out of sight. And once you truly see them, your perception shifts permanently. When shared between two genuine people, intimacy can be one of the purest forms of connection. It builds closeness, trust, and emotional safety. But with a narcissist, that same experience transforms into something entirely different. It becomes a psychological battleground where connection is replaced with control. Narcissists are very aware of how powerful intimacy can be. They understand it creates emotional bonds, releases feel-good chemicals, and builds attachment. But instead of honoring that power, they distort it. They don't use it to deepen love. They use it to tighten control. Every touch, every glance, every moment of closeness often carries a hidden motive. It isn't about connection, it's about dominance. In the beginning, everything feels intense and almost addictive. The connection feels magnetic, overwhelming, and irresistible. You may feel like you've discovered something rare and extraordinary, but that intensity is not accidental. It's carefully designed. The narcissist uses this energy as a form of love bombing, pulling you in quickly, creating emotional dependency, and lowering your guard before you even realize it. You begin associating their attention with your worth, their affection with your sense of safety, and their presence with emotional stability. What starts as passion slowly becomes conditioning. Without noticing, that same passion becomes conditional. Intimacy turns into a reward when you please them and a punishment when you don't. The dynamic shifts quietly, but deeply. Over time, something begins to feel off. The connection no longer feels mutual. It starts to feel like a performance where only one person truly matters. When you boost their ego or make them feel powerful, they respond with warmth and attention. But the moment you express your own needs or question their behavior, they withdraw. The affection disappears without warning. This creates a cycle of confusion. They offer closeness when they want control and take it away when they want you to feel uncertain. It becomes less about connection and more about control through unpredictability. You find yourself trying to regain what once felt natural, not realizing it was never stable to begin with. This is where intimacy becomes part of a manipulation cycle. After conflict, they may suddenly become affectionate, not out of care, but to reset the emotional balance and regain control. It sends a silent message. They decide when connection happens. This blurs your judgment, softens your emotions, and makes you question your own reactions. You may start thinking you overreacted or misunderstood them, but that confusion is intentional. They don't need to apologize if they can distract you from the pain. Pleasure becomes a tool to erase accountability, and slowly you become trapped in a loop of emotional uncertainty. Equally damaging is how they use distance. They suddenly become cold, distant, and unavailable without explanation. The absence leaves you questioning yourself, wondering what changed. Then just as you begin to detach, they return with intensity again, passionate, attentive, and irresistible. This push and pull dynamic keeps you hooked. You keep chasing the version of them you experienced in the beginning, not realizing that version was never real. It was a mask, carefully crafted to pull you in. The emotional high you felt wasn't genuine connection, it was bait. And the deeper you fall, the harder it becomes to see the truth. This pattern leaves lasting emotional marks. It conditions you to associate love with pain, passion with instability, and closeness with anxiety. That is the hidden power of manipulation. It's never about the act itself, it's about controlling how you feel. Narcissists don't seek your heart in the way you think. They seek control over it. And the most painful part is that they use your natural desire for love as the very thing that binds you to them. At first, being around them can feel like stepping into a dream. Their attention feels electric, almost destined, but that perfection is exactly what makes it deceptive. They are skilled at creating illusions, and one of their strongest tactics is overwhelming you with attention, praise, and intensity. They mirror your personality, reflect your values, and align with your dreams so precisely that it feels like you've found someone who truly understands you. They talk about the future, about connection, about how rare and special your bond is. They communicate constantly and make you feel chosen. But this isn't real emotional depth. It's a strategy to bypass your natural defenses. By creating intensity so quickly, they skip the gradual process of building trust. You're pulled in before you have time to question anything. Intimacy plays a major role in reinforcing this illusion. It feels meaningful, powerful, and deeply emotional. They may say things that make it seem unique and unmatched, but that intensity is not proof of love. It's part of the manipulation. The emotional and physical connection releases chemicals that strengthen attachment. Your brain begins linking those feelings directly to them. And once that bond is formed, they gain more influence over your emotions. When they feel secure in your attachment, everything begins to shift. The effort fades. The attention decreases. The warmth cools. What once felt constant becomes rare. The same person who once admired you begins to criticize or withdraw. When you question the change, they deflect. They make you doubt yourself. They label you as overly sensitive or accuse you of imagining things. Slowly, your confidence in your own perception begins to erode, and then the truth emerges. The person you fell for never truly existed. The connection wasn't real in the way you believed. It was constructed to draw you in deeply before revealing its instability. Narcissists don't approach relationships with the same intentions as emotionally healthy individuals. While most people seek connection, support, and understanding, they seek validation. They want admiration to sustain their fragile self-image. True intimacy feels threatening to them. Vulnerability exposes what they try to hide. Being truly seen challenges the image they work so hard to maintain. Because of this, they avoid genuine emotional closeness. What may feel like connection is often performance. Even when they appear attentive, it is usually driven by a desire for praise rather than care. They want recognition, admiration, and reassurance of their superiority. The moment that admiration fades or shifts away from them, their interest weakens. Intimacy becomes another tool to feed their ego rather than a shared experience. When situations begin to require emotional depth, they pull back. They avoid real vulnerability by changing the subject, becoming distant, or creating conflict. Their carefully maintained image cannot withstand genuine closeness. This creates a painful reality. You may give your energy, your care, and your vulnerability, hoping to build something real, but they take only what serves them: attention, admiration, and control. To them, relationships are not partnerships. They are systems of control. And until that truth becomes clear, it's easy to remain caught in their cycle, constantly reaching for something that was never truly there. They often struggle to give in a meaningful way. When situations call for emotional presence, they withdraw or create distance. Sometimes they respond with indifference, sarcasm, or subtle dismissal, reinforcing that emotional gap and keeping you from getting too close. When you try to connect on a deeper level, to open up or share your emotions, they may respond as if it's a weakness or make you feel like you're demanding too much. Instead of meeting you with understanding, they shift the focus back onto you, leaving you feeling exposed and misunderstood. This response isn't random. It works as a defense mechanism. A narcissist struggles to handle emotional exposure, so they dismiss it, reject it, or twist it in a way that makes you feel embarrassed for even seeking closeness. What should be a moment of connection becomes a moment of discomfort and self-doubt. In relationships like this, partners often feel emotionally deprived. You may be physically close, yet emotionally distant. You can lie beside them and still feel completely alone. When you try to have meaningful conversations about love, growth, or connection, you're often met with blank stares, shallow responses, or even subtle ridicule. Over time, this lack of real intimacy becomes deeply confusing. You begin to question why someone who once seemed so intensely drawn to you now feels so far away. You start turning inward, wondering if the issue is you. Maybe you're too emotional, too needy, or expecting more than you should. But the truth is not that you're asking for too much. It's that they were never planning to give it in the first place. To a narcissist, relationships are not built on emotional partnership. They are based on exchange. Everything is measured, controlled, and given only when it serves a purpose. They offer just enough to keep you engaged, to maintain the illusion, and to secure your admiration. But once the excitement fades or their attention shifts, they begin searching for new sources to feed their ego. The connection becomes secondary to their need for validation. It's not uncommon for them to seek attention elsewhere, flirt openly, or create situations that trigger jealousy. These actions are not accidental. They are designed to create emotional reactions, because when they become the center of your focus, they feel powerful. While you are longing for closeness, warmth, and something genuine, they are operating from a completely different place. They don't seek to be truly known, they want to be admired. The more you try to reach their authentic self, the more they pull away. Because real intimacy requires honesty, and that is something they struggle to offer. Withholding affection becomes one of their most subtle but effective tools. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it shows up as silence, distance, or a cold presence that fills the space without explanation. The shift from warmth to indifference can feel sudden and disorienting. This behavior is not passive, it's intentional. When they withdraw affection, it's often done to create imbalance. They understand your need for closeness, and by removing it, they gain emotional control. The absence becomes more powerful than presence.